Hello and welcome to my channel History and Guys, and today I want to talk about how I base my bolt action army. And the first step I want to take is I want to show you what materials I use. So the first step I will use this material. This is a ground texture acrylic by Vallejo and it's called rough grade pumice. And it comes in this 200 milliliter container. The next step will be with an express color or a contrast color. I'm using wasteland brown. Any brown will work. And if I want to add a little bit of additional finesse, I will use some brown acrylic paint. Here you are fairly free to use whatever you want. You can use something that is a little bit darker than this one, or you can use, like I do here with cork brown, this is a lighter color. And you can also vary warm and cold browns, for example, if you want to make some variations here. The next thing that I will add is flocking. And here this is a self-made flocking mixture. It's from 3 tones from Woodland Scenics and a little bit of bark from branches. So this is basically self-made and it's enough hopefully to last me for the whole project. If it doesn't, it's not too bad because I have way more than this down in the basement. So that's the materials. Now let's get to the work. Okay, and now let's get to work. You see, I've prepared already a couple of things, so I don't have to wait for drying times and all. And here we get going. So first step obviously is just to take the paste and apply it to the base. Here it's slightly different than with the other ones because I ran out of green bases, so I have to use a gray one. But obviously that makes it even easier because you won't have any green showing through the basing paste, simply because the contrast here is much lower. And just apply it everywhere. If it shimmers through, it doesn't matter. You just want to generally cover the base. Obviously keep the edges clean as much as possible. You can just go around like this. In the end you will probably have a couple of spots that you haven't covered that well due to your fingers sticking somewhere in and scraping stuff off. Anyway, this is the first step, and you saw me doing it. It was really very quick. I'm quickly gonna close the lid here so it doesn't dry out. So the next step is we take 2 paints and we first of all we take the wasteland brown express color. Here somewhere, and then we just take some water, take the base. See, this one is dry. You can see there are blue spots showing through everywhere. This is a very thin layer of paste, but the advantage of the thin layers is that they dry much faster than if you were to use a thicker layer, because in the end it just requires the water or the humidity in the paste to dissipate. So you need to take a little bit of water because otherwise it will flow very badly here. And you can see that I'm applying the paint thoroughly all over the base. Some places, yeah, like I said, you see the green coming through a little bit. It's not a big deal really. And now, if you want to refine it a little bit, this step is not really necessary at all because I think you don't see the effect, at least on the smaller bases in the final result. You see if you have like a 40mm or 50mm round base or something in a similar size, then it can look a little bit more monotonous if you don't break it up with some other brown tones, for example. And I'm using cork brown here, which is a little bit lighter than the color we used before, the contrast paint or express paint. And again, we whack it so it's runny because we want to, I hope you can see it now here, we want to have it here flowing as well. So we have some whack and whack transitions. And that's about it really. So it's a really fast process. Now you can see this is the first step, this is the second step. After the second step we have this situation. So we have a dry base. It's still a little bit, when you touch it, you can still feel that you can press the thicker parts of the paste in a little bit. That's because it still remains a little bit flexible. And that property will never go away completely. You can see when you are like removing the remainders of the paste from the spatula after an hour or two, it will still be very almost rubber-like in its consistency. And now we want to take the wood glue. This is PVA glue. I sometimes call it wood glue. I know in English it's always PVA, but it is pretty much the same stuff. As you might know, just put it on the palette as well. Doesn't matter if it gets slightly contaminated, because in the end it's all the same kind of tones that you're using here in this project. And you take an old brush, whack it thoroughly. You want to thin this down a little bit, but you probably know that still I'm mentioning it in case you are new to modeling. And then you see the base. Obviously, if you see spots like here where the green is really coming through, you want to especially take these spots to cover. So this is a good step where you can clean up some mistakes you might have made earlier. But that's not the sole purpose of this step. You want to cover a larger part of the base with glue. Now, generally speaking, my feeling about it is, when you're talking about classic European terrain, or American terrain probably as well, the largest part of the ground is covered by some kind of greenery. There are obviously exceptions when it's a very muggy field, for example, and there have been a lot of people running around. But if you're not really in the middle of an area where a lot of people have been running and milling around, or a lot of animals have been running and milling around, or it has been really wet for a very long time, then most pieces of the ground will be green or greenish. And that's why we try to cover like 2/3 to 3/4 of a ground in glue. And then we put our homemade mix in here, sprinkle it over the base, make sure that the stuff that doesn't stick to the base goes back into the container, so we are not wasting anything and we don't have our workplace dirtier than it really needs to be. And you can see this is what it approximately looks like when it's done. So here you are. And this could be already the final product because it looks quite nice. It's not too much pulling the attention away from a miniature, but I normally try to add one more element to the base to create some additional visual interest without being too distracting. And that is normally either some kind of branch, or in case of my bulk action army, some kind of white stone. Because the white isn't really a color that's being picked up in any part of the uniform here, or of the equipment. So you add another touch of color, and especially when you put larger rocks like this on the ground, on the basis of the guns, for example, then you tie it all together and it feels like, okay, it is this army that's fighting in a place where there are some white rocks or white light rocks, and otherwise it's fairly green. So this is quite nice. And just dip it into the glue with the paint, applying the paint on the side where I want to put it down here. So this one was a bit not willing to go where I wanted it to go. Obviously, when you're placing the stone down before you put the miniature on the base, make sure it's not in the place where you want to place the miniature. So always slightly off the center. And you can see here with these 4 bases I got finished already, it's always at the edge. And it makes it also easier to see, because if it's too close to the miniature will probably cover it from most angles. And that's pretty much it. The only thing that I need to do after putting the miniature on, and the miniature I will fasten with super glue, is to then seal the miniature and the base and to rim the base, obviously. And for rimming the base, I normally use the same cork brown that I use here to add some additional visual interest on the base. You can obviously leave it unsealed if you prefer to do it that way, but I always keep in mind that I want to play with the figures and that I want to transfer it around without being afraid that it will chip all the time. And also, I think in some ways it ties it together. So with this kind of basing, normally you can even use brush on varnish. Most often I will use spray varnish for the first coat just to fix everything in place, and then if I want to add another coat of varnish, either paint on or spray varnish, depending on what I have at hand and how the weather is, of course. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. I will put a couple of pictures at the end of this video. First of all, with a close shot of the finished bases, as well as with a couple of shots from my bolt action army, so you can see how it fits together with the rest of the model. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a subscription, and I'm always happy about getting feedback, regardless whether it's like a positive one or maybe a critical one. Have a good day, and see you next time.